right, do we have David Horowitz now? David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Okay, now I got to go back because I'm sorry that our Eagle Countdown, we've got viewers all across the country, David, and we're gathered here in the Phyllis Schlafly Center in D.C., and David's on the West Coast where he lives. But, David, I want to tell you, I was introducing you. You know, you got this important book we'll talk about in a minute, Blitz, Trump will smash the left and win. New York Times best-selling author, founder of the David Horowitz Freedom Center. But, David, I was reading this in 2002. Phyllis Schlafly wrote her Phyllis Schlafly report, and at the end of the column, and the end is really where she drops the hammer and says what you have to do in the election. In the report, October 2002. She's talking about David Horowitz and how he's the only one that can tell Republicans how to fight. And Phyllis Schlafly writes, David Horowitz's warning is stern. Quote, in political warfare, if only one side is shooting, the other side will soon be dead, end quote. Phyllis is writing, Republicans should study David Horowitz's book, The Art of Political War, in order to gird for the next judicial nomination battle that will surely come. So, well, welcome, David Horowitz. That's the best I can do. An introduction. Phyllis Schlafly praising your book. So, how are you today?
I'm fine. It's like Trump did it today. He's going after Princeton as a racist university. He's got to love this guy. Yeah, he's doing it great. I wish more Republicans were that aggressive.
Well, Princeton's president says we're a racist university, and so Trump says, okay, we'll open an investigation. So, I mean, it's kind of like, all right, David, I don't want to skip the things I'm doing with every one of our guests. Eagle Countdown, we've got a bunch of speakers from all over, and they come in different ways. I ask everybody two questions in common. One is, Trump has had all kinds of promises that he kept, right? I cataloged 100 of them in this book. What's your favorite promise kept by Donald Trump and his administration?
To me, it's the economy. I'm focused on the culture wars and everything. I hadn't realized that all these presidents betrayed us. Bush, Clinton, Obama, either too lazy or just didn't care enough about Americans to prevent them from having their pockets picked by the Chinese, the Japanese, the Europeans. I was completely unaware that we were being snookered. I think he uses that word.
Yeah.
Instead of suckers. I'm so impressed with what he's done. But there are so many problems. I have a whole chapter of my book, Blitz. It comes right after I have two chapters on impeachment, and impeachment by any means necessary. I forget what the other one is called.
What the president actually did, I think.
What the president actually did. But it's amazing. He destroyed ISIS. He killed Baghdadi. He killed Soleimani. I mean, this is huge. It's Obama who created ISIS. There's a big difference. It's Obama who put Iran at the center of our policy, took them out of isolation, lifted the sanctions, gave them $200 billion to buy IEDs to blow our brave warriors up. And it's Trump who, in this peace deal that Nancy Pelosi, I mean, this woman is such a traitor. She's so deserving of being an elected official, let alone the Speaker of the House. She calls it a distraction when Trump has put together a Sunni Arab alliance, which we are part of, and Israel is part of, and isolated Iran. This is all directed against Iran, although not too many people are saying it. Brilliant.
David, if you now we're facing down this election in 43 days, and now we have Phyllis's quote in 2002 followed David Horowitz's book, the Art of Political War, regarding a judicial nomination. So we got a street. What's that?
I was crying in the wilderness for 30 years, telling Republicans not to be so nice, and then along comes Trump, and just blows the whole thing up. Now we have an army. Now we have all these wonderful rallies of people are ready to fight. It's great.
So what happens on November 3rd?
Supreme Court. He didn't, put his finger in the air. He didn't take a poll. He didn't test anything. I'm the president. I'm supposed to appoint Supreme Court justices. Well, I'm going to do it.
David, what happens on November 3rd?
Yikes! I don't know. I'm waiting to see what the White House will do. It's very worrying. As you know, they're preparing a coup. They want to do what that Pennsylvania justice did, which is you delay the Pennsylvania counting for 2 weeks. Well, that takes Pennsylvania out of the result. Then you get all the lawyers descend. Remember what happened in 2000 in Florida.
Right.
Look, America is broken. People have to recognize that. The Democrats are anti-American party. They want to abolish the Electoral College. No reasons that based on the Constitution. Mark Levin said it. I might have been this morning even. They're against the Constitution. They want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish the filibuster. They want to pack the Supreme Court if they don't get their way. They have no respect for the American political system. Very, very dangerous times we live in.
David, we're talking.
Why are we having mail-in ballots? If the Corona, how many football stadiums are there? How many high school gyms? How many large areas where people could socially distance, wear the stupid masks, and vote?
Yeah.
They don't even believe in the mask. They've let out tens of thousands of prisoners because of coronavirus. If the masks work, just give them masks. Don't to kill again.
All right. So, David, after the election, let's say the election goes, and in a couple of states, earlier in the program we had Catherine Engelbrecht of True the Vote, and she said
I did our first commercial for her organization.
Oh, really? Yeah. So she said something that I think people need to realize. The left is not just targeting the swing states, because if they can cause chaos in a Republican state such that there's not electoral votes counted, then they'll mess up the electoral votes. The Constitution requires a majority. And so and
they lie every time they move their lips.
Yeah.
Here's one statistic I saw. In California, 500,000 people refused or wrote in saying they can't be jurors. They were on the jury rolls. They were called to jury duty and said, I can't do it because I'm not a citizen. Where do you think the 500,000 names came from? The voter rolls.
Right.
5,000 illegals who are going to get mail ballots.
All right. So now, David, the second question I ask every guest on here on the Eagle Countdown is, what do you tell people watching right now and they're at home in their communities? What should they do in the next 42 or 43 days? Now, don't tell me they should vote, because that's what everybody says, vote. And you're David Horowitz. You got to say something about fighting.
We need them at the polls. They have to be poll watchers. They have to go out and knock on doors and get people out to vote. But they have to fight these lies at every level. Trump did not kill 200 million Americans. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
No, he didn't kill any coronavirus patients. He doesn't control the healthcare systems. The governors do. We live in a federal system. Of course, the Democrats just ignore that. So if you want to put somebody in jail for killing people, try Andrew Cuomo.
Right. Well, that's right. And David Horowitz. We're talking with David Horowitz. We're talking with David Horowitz. By the way, his book is Blitz: Trump Will Smash the Left and Win. And he was
Democrats, the racists that they are. Identity politics is racism. What? We have to have a black female be vice president. We don't know who she is. We don't know what her qualifications are. But as long as she's black, it's okay. This is racism. Pure.
So, David, what happens on the day after the election when they start to try to steal it, like they did to Norm Coleman and the country? What? Let me say differently. What should people do?
Worry about our military. Look at this. We've had the greatest civil destruction in the history of the country. Riots everywhere. Trump wants to call out the troops to stop the arsons and the rioting. And we had a chairman of I don't know if it was the chairman, but one of the members of the Joint Chiefs said the military can't get involved in politics. Burning buildings is not politics. Politics in America is persuading people to resolve things through an election. So I'm very worried about the military. And, the one confidence I have is that Trump knows this enemy well. Other Republicans blind themselves to what they're facing. They think they're dealing with nice people. They think they're dealing with reasonable people. These are not reasonable people. You take the greatest peace deal in a generation and you call it, oh, Trump is just distracting from the coronavirus. That's Ms. Pelosi. You have, we do not have a loyal opposition anymore. We have a disloyal opposition. And people have to call them out when they do that.
All right, let's talk for a minute about the Supreme Court nomination and the vacancy on the Supreme Court. I read at the beginning of this exchange that Phyllis Schlafly was saying, "Read the Art of Political War" by David Horowitz to fight on that judicial nomination. What should happen in the next 42 days?
The Hispanic woman from Florida.
Say that again.
Now, if I were Trump, my appointment would be the Hispanic woman from Florida. That's a big whammy for them. It affects the Hispanic vote. It affects Florida. This is war, people. Trump understands it's war. That's the big difference between him and everybody else. So the Democrats have lived the war, as I said, for 30 years. I've been saying, don't call them liberals. They're vindictive bigots. Why would a Republican call these people liberals? What are they liberal about except sex, hard drugs, spending other people's money, coddling criminals, and defending our enemies? The Democrat leadership condemned Trump for killing Soleimani, who is the chief terrorist in the world, for crying out. That's unbelievable.
All right. By the way, our Eagle Countdown viewers, if you have questions or comments, whatever platform, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, feel free to send them in for David Horowitz. We'll ask him some questions here. We've got a few more minutes. Okay, but back to David. What's going to be like in the next 42 days in terms of the judicial nomination? Will the left they go crazy like they did with Kavanaugh because they can't resist?
And then they got all these. I hate calling them revolutionaries because that's a positive. They're criminals. We have had, I don't know how many actual criminals, but there's tens of thousands of them. You've seen them in the streets. You see them on TV. They're going to do mayhem. Somebody just sent Trump a package of ricin, which is a deadly poison. I worry about his health. I worry about his safety every time he goes out. I think there will be violence. This is war. Black Lives Matter is a racist, violent, Marxist organization that hates America. They'll do anything. And they don't, it's not just the Supreme Court justice. They understand they're losing power. The Trump landslide is obvious. The Democrats win when the Republicans get 8% of the vote, or they didn't actually. Even in 2016, Trump only got 8% of the black vote and was able to win. The polls show he's getting 20%. That's the end of the Democrat Party as it exists today, a racist party that depends on having blacks on the plantation and in its pocket, and doing nothing for them except getting their votes.
One of our Facebook viewers just asked who Trump should pick for SCOTUS, and I know, David, you already said the Hispanic woman from Florida, so I'll just answer that so the viewer has that. But David, back to the election, getting ready to vote, and you said you got to fight back on the lies. But what about the media? I mean, it's good that they've shown themselves to be so bad, but they're so far gone now. It's almost impossible to fight your way through the disinformation.
Again, I mean, conservatives and Republicans are so civilized and nice. It's too bad we don't have riots outside CNN and MSNBC. When they lie and lie and lie. I mean, I don't want to go into personalities, but all of them, they're compulsive liars and no shame. And they're racists. Anybody who disagrees with a Democrat is automatically called a racist.
All right, here's a question from a viewer, David. A viewer asked this question, David. What should a law-abiding Christian woman do to confront Antifa? Go to the riots?
No, lady, that's not for you. They're violent. They're evil people. They are violent. They're fascists. They think that everybody, if you read there's an Antifa, it's called the Antifa Handbook on Amazon. I think you can get it for $1 or something. It's a very boring book, but the whole thesis of the book explains them. If you disagree with us, you are either a racist or a fascist, and we will silence you by any means necessary. So if you're a good Christian woman, you don't want to be confronting Antifa. What you want to be doing is holding them. There are plenty of Democrats who don't realize what they're doing. They're intelligent people. They're intimidated. I mean, I think there's plenty who understand that Nancy Pelosi is a menace, but they don't have the courage to stand up. So reach to your ordinary Democrat neighbor and try to persuade them.
All right, David, we got to move on to our next one. We got Lee Smith here, the great writer too, and we'll talk to him. So any last encouragement for our Eagle Countdown viewers as we head towards the last 42 or 3 days?
Well, the subtitle of my book is Trump Will Smash the Left and Win.
So be optimistic, even though it seems like it's daunting.
Fight like your lives depended on it, because they do.
All right. Thank you, David. Thanks very much, David Horowitz. I mentioned, and I'll put up on social media, David, that great time in 2002 where Phyllis was quoting you. I'll send you the link, too, so you can. That's a keeper. That's a keeper. So thanks, David.
Send me your book, too.
I will do it. I will. Thanks, David. Okay. David Horowitz, the great David Horowitz. By the way, I meant to say frontpagemag.com. You can see a lot of his writings and also his team out there, the David Horowitz Freedom Center and so many other great things that he does. His books are phenomenal. I didn't even spend time, but for the Eagle Countdown viewers, he's written a series of books that are about his almost memoirs, spiritual memoirs that are extraordinary too. So amazing guy. Okay, we're going to take a break.